that affidavit to us this morning.
Are you able to tell the court the value of the matter of the corruption?
The value of the corruption, Your Worship, is 800,000. And here, Your Worship, it involves more than one person. There's three accused before the court. And also the fact that, Your Worship, the accused has a pending case that is before the specialized commercial court, Your Worship, and the matter is still before the Worship.
Do you submit that the combined considerations and the facts still present the court with a Schedule 5 application for bail?
That is correct, Your Worship.
Is the state going to oppose the application?
The state, Your Worship, is opposing to bail. And my colleague, Your Worship, advocate also will dispose of the application of the affidavit before the court. That is correct, Your Worship.
Right, Mr. Agrizzi, you've already entered your name into the record by confirming your identity. I'm going to explain certain information to you. It's of high importance. I urge you to listen carefully.
Okay.
There is a duty on you to disclose to the court should you have previously been convicted of any offence at any time in any court. The time is now to disclose those facts to this court. If you have other pending cases apart from the current one, not yet finalised matters, you need to also disclose that information to this court now. Should you fail to disclose such information or only disclose half-truths, and the state find that you have not been honest with the court, they are entitled to prosecute you with an offence. Conviction of such an offence may lead to up to 2 years imprisonment, plus revoking of any bail that has been subsequently granted to you. Do you understand that explanation?
I do.
Are there any previous convictions that you wish to disclose?
There are none apart from traffic violations.
Right. And are there any other pending cases?
Not unless there's the cases that's been held in the Commercial Crimes Court regarding Bosasa.
Which Commercial Crimes Court is that?
It's the one in Pretoria. It's the case, the state versus T and others.
Is that case currently on roll? Are you appearing in that matter?
Yes, sir.
And have you been released on bail?
Yes, I have.
Yes, that would count as a pending, another pending matter. Apart from that pending case, is there any other pending case?
Not that I'm aware of at all.
Right. Mr. Witts, you already confirmed that you are representing the applicant in this matter.
That is correct, Your Worship.
This information that your client has just provided to the court, is that also your instruction?
My instruction is that it is exactly so. There are no previous convictions for any criminal offences whatsoever. I don't think that the traffic fines that he's talking about, it's not the traffic fine that is a conviction. As my understanding, there are no previous convictions at all, other than normal speeding fines or parking fines. But in regards to the pending case, we're appearing on Friday at the Commercial Crime Court in Pretoria. He was arrested on the 6th of February last year, 2019. My learned friend, or in fact, one of my learned friends was present. Advocate Nukunyani is in the other matter, which also appears on the same day, which does not involve Mr. Agrizzi. It's two separate accused, which we don't need to put on record at this stage, nothing to do with him or any of his cases. And there is a case there where he's appearing on Friday. He was released on bail of 20,000 Rand, and his passport was handed, which is now expired, which we deal with in our affidavit. His passport was handed in to Colonel Lazarus, who's the investigating officer in that matter. And then he also disclosed that he was the holder, which was issued here in South Africa by the consulate, of an Italian passport, which was subsequently lost, and that was then reported to the Italian consulate here in South Africa that the passport had been lost, and the state were notified of that. So what he has told you, in fact, is correct in regards to no previous convictions, and that's the only pending case, and there's no other cases that we're aware of. The only other matters that he's obviously involved in obviously relate to the State Capture Commission, where he's been a witness, where he was the whistleblower and made the disclosures, etc., relating to some of these charges, which are now seem to be emanating and originating. And there's also been matters with the Special Investigation Unit, where he's been assisting the Special Investigation Unit. But those are not criminal matters. Those are commissions, etc. The only other aspect, Your Worship, that I'll deal with it now, is we were handed an affidavit from Colonel Lazarus, who's the investigating officer in the Pretoria matter, who at all material times the accused has been in contact with as and when necessary. There was an instance when the accused wanted to travel. The colonel held his passport, the South African passport. He had no problem at all returning it. There was then a request by the state capture that we need you, Mr. Agrizzi, because you are exposing and showing the country what has been going on in relation to Bosasa and various other aspects, and please, can you cancel? He'd already booked it. It was part business, part leisure, and by agreement he then said it's going to cost him money, but he'll have to do it. He complied with the state capture and with Colonel Lazarus. He cancelled his trip, and the passport remained with Colonel Lazarus, and it's been there ever since, and it has now expired. He's never applied for any other travel documents. And the Italian passport, the loss of same was reported when he found out that it was missing to the Italian consulate, and we'll give the court the necessary proof. It's in the bail affidavit. The only thing that I find very, very surprising, Your Worship, which I need to place on record, that from the outset, besides his cooperation to the State Capture Commission, which the learned Deputy Chief Justice Judge Zondo, Honourable Justice Zondo, is running, from the Special Investigation Unit, from all the aspects, he has been the only one, I must say, together with one or two of his ex-work colleagues, that has been cooperating throughout to assist to try and get them to the bottom of what was allegedly going on in the Republic of South Africa. My learned friend and I have been in constant contact together with the investigating officer, and now for the very, very first time as we arrive here, no indication at all. I'm now told, when my learned friend stands up, that they now want to oppose. There was never any suggestion of opposition to bail. We'd actually spoken about an amount, depending what the court would decide after hearing all the facts, etc. So I'm not sure what the position is now, why they now intend opposing bail. We even discussed amounts, we discussed whether there'd be any conditions, etc. And my understanding was, and in fact a draft order has been prepared by the state, that there would be no major problem in regards to our full cooperation, which we still give and we are giving. We handed over by agreement. We cooperated, the investigating officers. I'm happy if they call them, I'm happy to question them in regards to all the cooperation, etc. And now I'm told for the very first time, and you don't really expect that from colleagues, from fellow colleagues and officers of the court. If you're going to oppose, then notify your colleague beforehand and say, look, I'm either taking a point in limine in regards to a legal argument, or I intend opposing bail. This is the reasons why I intend opposing bail, so you can prepare yourself on the opposition if there is opposition, etc. So I find that a little bit disturbing from the state's point of view. I'm not sure what is actually afoot here, whose instruction or how this has come about, but it is a little bit disturbing as an officer of the court. So what I've now done in the interim, I was handed just before we started an affidavit of Colonel Lazarus relating to certain objections in regards to certain assets that have been disclosed, etc. So we're just doing a short reply, which I'm going to hand up later. We haven't had a full opportunity. But I would have expected, as an officer of the court and as a colleague, if you intend to either taking it's common practice in all my years of practice, which is many years, that if you intend taking either a point or if you intend opposing, you just have common courtesy and common collegiality to inform your colleague and say, look, this is the reasons why I'm opposing, so you can then deal with it either on affidavit or on evidence, and this is the position, or this is what information we have. Can you give us an explanation? Do you want to rebut it? Do you want to counter it? Do you want to deal with it? So, as I say, I just want to place that on record. It's the very first time that we've ever heard of any opposition at all. And Mr. Agrizzi is also appearing on Friday in the Commercial Crime Court in Pretoria, where he was released on unopposed bail of 20,000 rand, February 2019, 6th of February, and up until the present date, other than his full cooperation assistance, not only to the state, but also to the State Capture Commission and also to the Special Investigation Unit and the South African Revenue Services, where he's attended inquiries and assisted them, there's never been any suggestion at all of any opposition or any problem in relation to Mr. Agrizzi. And the other aspect, of course, is that unfortunately, and we'll deal with it at a later stage, and I don't think the state obviously knew about it on the 1st of October when I made them sign for the medical certificates. His health has unfortunately taken a turn for the worse as well. So this is another aspect that we'll have to deal with and consider. But we'll first hear what the grounds are and what the position is, and if necessary we can then deal with it, although we're doing it very, very briefly so as not to waste court time and in order to try and proceed with the matter. And I gave my affidavit to my learned friend. I've only got the one which is signed and affidavitted, and I showed it to her and I gave her the exact copy so she could check, because the police at Brackendowns needed to process him and I only could get one signed. It would have been a mission for them to go sign each and every one. So it's exactly the same. It's the one I'll read from and the one my learned friend has got, together with the annexures. So that is our position that we'd ask you to take into account.
Right, Mr. Witz, so my understanding from your submissions are that you will not be hampered at this stage to lodge your application.
No. Well, I'm not hampered, but I'm just very, let me rather put it rather mildly, I'm just very taken aback by the sudden change in attitude and the reasons, and I would have expected as colleagues and as officers of the court, if I, for example, or any of my colleagues was going to take a point and say to the state, well, we are objecting to your charge sheet and this is the reason, or we are objecting to this witness, I would give them notice, I would give them proper opportunity to deal with it and say this is the reasons why. It's either a legal argument or a factual argument. To just get caught blindsided and taken by complete surprise and by a whole change in attitude. When somebody, I'm not going to disclose because we speak as colleagues, and I've got utmost respect for Advocate Nkoyani and obviously Advocate Rousseau. I've been dealing with Advocate Nkoyani. When your colleagues and you are speaking, and I mean we spoke last night, late or early evening, to confirm, have you made arrangements with Captain Nevin to hand your client over at Brackendowns? I said it's done, 8 o'clock, we'll be there sharp. I still phoned Captain Nevin. He wanted to make it 8:30. I said, no, don't delay the court. We'll be there at 8 o'clock. We were there, 8 o'clock. We met him there. We went through, processed. Nobody ever indicated and said, well, now there's a problem. You've either done something or there's a problem in relation to something, and now we're going to oppose bail. To just be told in court and get caught blindsided, it's a little bit off-putting or a little bit upsetting, because you expect your colleagues to deal with you on a sort of hands-on basis and on a collegial basis. And you'd also like to know, well, what is the reason why you're opposing? So you can then deal with it, because there might be an answer to it. You might be able to deal with it. So I'm in a position to proceed with my bail application, and if I need a little bit of time, we have prepared a very, very short response dealing with some of the allegations that have now been raised, which appears to relate to assets and to the one Italian passport. Where the state knew about this, there's another advocate, Advocate Sarunia, who's dealing with the Pretoria case. He's the team leader in that case. Advocate Rousseau is also involved in that matter. Advocate Nkoyani, who's here today, is not involved in that. She's in a related but unrelated matter to Mr. Agrizzi. And we've appeared there, even through COVID, through all the appearances we've ever had to appear. We're at court on time. We've dealt with it, postponements, disclosure. We've cooperated and done everything possible. You would have expected that if you're going to do this, phone your colleague, you've been speaking to your colleague. Last night, all we were talking about, have you made the arrangements? Will you be at Bracken Downs? And then we were discussing and we were doing a little bit of debating on regards to bail and the amount of bail. My learned friend suggested a certain amount. I said, I think that's a bit high, but it's not for us to decide. You put what you want to put forward, we'll put what we want to put forward. Let the learned court and the learned regional magistrate decide on the amount. All you had to do was say, listen, oh, by the way, I'm opposing, and these are the reasons for opposing, so let's not even talk about amounts or anything. Not to come to court in front of, and it seems that maybe this is an opportune moment for media to report on these things, where the state, who are prosecuting in these matters, seem to be either withholding or not dealing with it or not dealing openly with the matter, and then they come to court in the morning, first thing. And as you arrive in court, they don't say a word. When they stand up, oh, we're now opposing. So I find that a little bit surprising, Your Worship. But maybe we'll hear what my learned friends have to say, because that's not the way to deal, firstly, with somebody who's been giving their full cooperation. And it's also not the way to deal with a colleague who's been in practice a long time, and you don't expect that type of conduct from the state side. I think that in the new South Africa and in a democratic South Africa, and with the way things are at the moment, you expect a lot more collegiality and a lot more cooperation. Unless you're in a matter where you sometimes get difficult opponents, or it's a difficult matter, and you're at loggerheads and you're debating and fighting and disputing about certain things, you don't really expect it in instances like this. And especially where, from the outset, when I knew that Mr. Agrizzi could not appear on the 1st of October, where I was in constant contact with Advocate Nkonyane, saying, listen, I'm sorry, he was in hospital recently. I didn't even know he was in hospital, because we had to consult. We have to prepare affidavits to assist the Zondo Commission, the State Capture Commission, and I couldn't attend to it because he was in hospital. And I said, now he's on permanent oxygen. So she said, have you got proof? I said, no, I'll speak to the doctor. So I spoke, we arranged with the doctor, and then I came and sent the attorney here to hand her the medical information saying what the position was. And at no stage was there any suggestion, well, look, we don't accept it, or alternatively, we're now going to oppose. So I just need to place that all on record, and I think it's important that Your Worship is going to be dealing and exercising discretion, is aware of the background relating to the matter. Thank you, Your Worship.
All right, thank you, Mr. Witts. Just before you take your seat, do you confirm that this application results in Schedule 5?
Yes, it is a Schedule 5 because of the pending case. That brings it into Schedule 5. In regards to the amounts, and in regards to as to why he's being charged together with Mr. Smith and Euroblitz, which is apparently a company of which Mr. Smith was a director, whoever will deal with the trial. And in regards to the amounts, what my learned friend has said, I don't think it would fall within the ambit, but for the pending case, because I'm not sure of the actual facts relating to this case. Because my understanding from, and we'll deal with it at a later stage, my simple understanding from the State Capture Commission and from all the evidence which at this stage stands, including what Mr. Smith said at the State Capture Commission, everything related to the late Mr. Gavin Watson, if he is the late Mr. Gavin Watson, we don't know about that at this stage, but if it's Mr. Gavin Watson, he did all the different dealings with Mr. Smith, not Mr. Agrizzi. So it's a case of, well, don't shoot me, I'm the messenger. It's one of those. So I discussed it with my learned friend as well. We were joking about it on the phone, and we actually said, well, fine, let's just process it, let's sort out the bail, and we'll then come, and once you've given us disclosure and you show us how we fit in, if we do fit in, we can then talk about whether Mr. Agrizzi should actually be your main witness or whether he should be an accused, or do you want to shoot the messenger? So that's the kind of interaction that we've had. But at this stage, I confirm that it is a Schedule 5, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Because
and
of the pending
I
case.
understand from you that your application will take the format of an affidavit.
An affidavit, correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Agrizzi, again, the court is going to inform you of information which is of high importance. I urge you to listen carefully. Now, You need to understand that you are under no obligation whatsoever to disclose any facts, either by way of an affidavit or by giving evidence from the witness stand under oath, which may possibly incriminate you of the commission of any offences. If you, however, volunteer such information, it is being recorded as we speak. It may be used against you in any subsequent trial that may follow these proceedings. Do you understand that?
I do.
Now, Mr. Wits informs me that he has prepared an affidavit in support of your application for bail. Has he gone through the affidavit with you? Are you aware of the content thereof?
Yes, we briefly read it this morning.
Are you aware of the content thereof?
Yes.
Now, considering the caution against self-incrimination, which the court has just directed to you, are you satisfied that he may present this affidavit in its current form?
Yes, he may.
I'm going to permit him in a moment to read it out aloud. At the conclusion of the reading, I will confirm with you whether you understood the content and whether each and every fact contained therein is true as well as accurate. Do you understand that?
I do.
Thank you. For now, you may be seated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wits.
Thank you. Your Worship, there's just one other, before I read the affidavit, I'll hand this to my learned friend. On August 22nd, 2019, Mr. Agrizzi hasn't signed this. This is just printed now. His instructing attorney notified the Italian embassy about the passport and that it was lost, and he was told that the police can't deal with it and the embassy must just note that the passport has been lost. So I will hand that up once I just get him to sign it, because I've only got the one copy now. It should have been attached to the affidavit, so that's the only thing. But I'd like at this stage to hand up the original. I apologize, Your Worship, it's just been clipped. I don't know if you've got a stapler or if somebody can just assist with a stapler.
I do.
But it is together. Give me the Thank you, Worship. With the permission of the court, I'd like to read it into the record.
Thank you. You may proceed.
It reads as follows. It's an application for bail in terms of Section 51A of the Criminal Procedure Act number 51 of 1977 as amended, together with Section 35, 1F of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, Act 108 of 1996. It reads as follows. I, the undersigned Angelo Agrizzi, do hereby make oath and say that the contents hereof are within my own personal knowledge and belief, save where stated otherwise or appear different from the context thereof. I am the applicant in the above-mentioned matter. I'm an adult South African male. I'm aged 53 years old, with my personal particulars and background as reflected hereunder. I've been advised by my legal representatives that it is now considered law and practice that in the bringing of bail applications, either the defence or the state from time to time do not present viva voce evidence, but rely on the production of affidavits and annexures. My legal representatives have further advised me that it is common practice that in the event that I do present viva voce evidence, almost without exception, this will lead to me being cross-examined on the merits of the matter, which I submit is premature at this stage for reasons I shall canvass hereunder. Neither I nor my legal representatives have been placed in possession of the charge sheet or the contents and the statements in the criminal docket so as to inform me what the allegations against me comprise. I've therefore been advised to depose to this affidavit as I have the right to remain silent in terms of the provisions of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, Act 108 of 1996, the Constitution. My details are: my South African identification number is 671203546885. My date of birth is the 3rd of December 1967. I am a South African. I am in possession of a South African passport, a copy of which I attach here to as Annexure Capital A. I previously deposed to the affidavit on the 6th of February 2019 at the Specialised Commercial Crimes Court, Pretoria. I was released on bail of 20,000 rand, and my South African passport was handed to Colonel Lazarus of the South African Police Services, the Hawks, and my South African passport expired on the 5th of August 2019. So that is the one that Colonel Lazarus still has in his possession. The same one that he was prepared to release, but he's kept it and it's now expired. I previously had an Italian passport which was issued to me by the Italian Consulate General in Houghton, Johannesburg. My Italian passport has been lost despite an intensive search of my house and belongings. I've not been able to find the passport. I'm in possession of a copy of the passport which I'm attaching here to. I have reported this to the Italian Consulate, and a copy of this correspondence and the ID copy is attached as Annexure B. So, Your Worship, the only problem was I see they attached the copy, but the correspondence reporting it on the 22nd of August wasn't attached. So I'm going to ask at a later stage that Mr. Agrizzi can just initial this, and if I can get one of the Commissioners of Oaths, either the attorneys or the court orderlies, just to confirm that, and I'll then hand this up as well, confirming it was reported on the 22nd of August 2019. My personal circumstances and background are: I was born in Germiston, South Africa. I reside at 97 Helderfontein Estates, where I've resided for the last 5 years. I own the property, which is valued at 13,500,000. The property is bonded with Abson and revolving credit, and I still own an amount of approximately 8,100,000 on the property. Attached as Annexure C is a copy of my bond documentation. I'm still the registered owner of the property, which was on auction but was not sold. I matriculated at Germiston High School in 1986. After matriculating, I commenced my studies at the Hotel School in Witwatersrand. I've been married to my wife, Debbie Agrizzi, for the past 28 years. We lived together at the aforesaid address. And I have dealt with it at a later stage. The parties got divorced at a very young age, in the early stage in their marriage, but they've still been together as common law man and wife and in a universal partnership. So officially they're divorced, but in essence they remained as common law husband and wife. So they've been together for the past 28 years. We have 2 children aged 26 and 28 years old and 2 young grandchildren. My eldest child is married and employed. My youngest child is a doctoral student, university student, having completed a master's in politics and economics at the University of Witwatersrand. We are an extremely close-knit family, and my wife and I are attached to our children. I'm also extremely close to my brother and his family, who reside here in South Africa. Since I left Bosasa, where I was employed for approximately 19 years, and since 2017, I've been working at CEMEC, Hampton's Property and Property Matcher, where I earn approximately 55,000 Rand gross per month. I do have funds to pay bail in a reasonable amount. My wife and I, it should be my common law wife and I, own movable assets valued at approximately 2,650 and immovable property valued at approximately 14 million Rand. All my family members and relatives, including my brother, are living inside the borders of Africa. I do have funds available for bail, which my wife will arrange should this become necessary. My legal representatives have been in constant contact with both the investigating officer as well as the prosecution in the matter from the outset. My legal representatives further agreed to make a warning statement and to secure my attendance at court when and if my appearance is required by the state. And subject to what Captain Nevin will say, I think it was towards the end of December or beginning of January, we attended at the VGM building, where we attended to giving a warning statement in this matter relating to the charge that they were investigating. When Mr. Vincent Smith appeared in the matter, I was hospitalized, so I could not be present at the above honorable court and Mr. Vincent Smith was appearing. I was recently hospitalized and I'm under medical care, and I have to use oxygen on a daily basis. I submit that should bail be denied for me, I will continue to be incarcerated until the conclusion of this matter, which I submit will be prejudicial as detailed hereunder. I'm advised by my legal representatives that in the circumstances I am presumed innocent, as enshrined in Section 35, subsection 3, subsection H of the Constitution Act 108 of 1996. We then deal with the judicial criteria, which we respectfully submit that this Honourable Court will take into account. I've been advised that the Honourable Presiding Officer will balance the interests of the administration of justice against my constitutional rights to be released on bail and to my right to privacy and freedom. I'm setting out further reasons why I'm a person who, in terms of the Constitution Act 108 of 1996, should enjoy freedom of movement, of occupation and of association, pending any trial that may follow in this court or any other criminal court in the Republic of South Africa. If I remain in custody until my matter is trialled, such detention will have a punitive and devastating effect on my life. Even if I'm acquitted, such detention will in all probability result in a substantial loss of my self-respect in the community, severe financial prejudice in my occupation and personal hardship to myself and my family, severe restrictions on me to prepare for my forthcoming trial. I'll need to research, prepare for trial, study documentation, and if I'm unable to do this with my legal representatives, I'll be severely prejudiced in my preparation for trial. I do not have any previous convictions. I have one pending case in the Specialised Commercial Crimes Court, Pretoria, where I'm currently released on bail. I've appeared at each and every appearance at the Specialised Commercial Crimes Court, Pretoria, in this matter, and as I've already placed on record, Your Worship, he is appearing on Friday, the 16th of October, together with the other co-accused. The arrest and factual background. My date of arrest is the 14th of October 2020. The offence that I'm charged with, corruption. My intended plea is not guilty. My defence of the charges, I deny the allegation against me, and once I've been placed in possession of all the evidentiary material, I intend to submit written representations to the state. I'm advised that Section 61B of the Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977 as amended provides that where I'm charged with an offence referred to in Schedule 5, the court should order that I be detained in custody unless I produce evidence that satisfies the court that the interests of justice permit for my release. The schedule of the Criminal Procedure Act under which the matter falls, Schedule 5. We then deal with, respect, Your Worship, the considerations which we'd ask you to take into account in terms of Section 64A to E. Section 64A, danger to the safety of the public or any particular person of the public interest or committing a Schedule 1 offence. I submit that I'm neither a danger to the public nor to any particular person, nor will I commit any offence if I'm released on bail. I'm advised that should I commit an offence while on bail, I run the risk of having bail revoked in this matter should it indeed be granted. Section 60, in brackets 4 in brackets B. Where there's a likelihood that if I was released on bail, I'll attempt to evade my trial. I will stand my trial. I have no inclination whatsoever to avoid my trial. I submit that the fact that my legal representatives, as well as myself, have been in constant contact with entities of the state is indicative that I have no intention to abscond. Section 64C, interference with witnesses or evidentiary material. I will not interfere with witnesses, and I have no access to evidentiary material. I have to date not interfered with witnesses whom I know. I shall continue to have no contact with the witnesses I know, and I shall likewise refrain from having contact with the witnesses whose identity I become aware of. I do not know who the witnesses are, but I have a business relationship with Mr. Richard Leroux, and if he's a witness, I will not in any way discuss the matter with him, but I do see him for business purposes. Section 64D, where there's a likelihood that the accused, if he were released on bail, will undermine or jeopardise the objectives of the proper functioning of the criminal justice system, including the bail system. I submit that my release on bail will neither undermine nor jeopardise the proper functioning of the criminal justice system. 64E, exceptional circumstances, presence or absence, which may lead to undermining public order or peace, not applicable. Other relevant factors to be considered by the above Honourable Court. I'm a South African citizen with strong emotional ties in the Republic of South Africa. I have given my full cooperation to the arresting officers and all the people involved. Conditions to be considered for the purposes of bail. Any conditions which this Honourable Court deems fit to impose, I'll comply with. I respectfully submit further that the interests of justice do not require my continued detention. A substantial burden will be cast upon myself and my family if I were to be further detained, and I submit that the interests of justice must bear a wider meaning so as to include my fundamental right to my personal freedom and my liberty. In the premises aforesaid, I respectfully request this Honourable Court to release me on bail, subject to any reasonable bail conditions that this Honourable Court may impose, and I respectfully submit that it will indeed be in the interest of justice that I'll be so released. Then you will find attached to the affidavit, Your Worship, is the copy of the accused passport. You will also find a copy of the Italian passport, which is attached, and I will then, Your Worship, I just need to get this signed and affidavitted because it came through, it's supposed to have been attached. I'll just read it into the record, and then I can then attend to the formalities so I don't delay the court. I understand you also have other matters to deal with at a later stage. And it just merely says on August the 22nd, 2019 at 5:13 p.m. This was an email from the Italian consulate and an email to the Italian consulate. We represent Mr. Angelo Agrizzi. Mr. Agrizzi has requested us to contact the Italian embassy on his behalf. He was the holder of an Italian passport, which was issued him by the Italian consulate, Genera. In an intensive search of his house, he's lost the Italian passport. He has not been able to find the passport, and through his legal representatives, we've requested that he must contact the Italian consulate to inform me of the loss. I'm writing to you noting the lost passport, and this was done last year in August 22nd of August 2019, and the Italian consulate are fully aware of it and what the position is. And an important aspect to place on record in this regard is that Advocate Sarunia, who's dealing with that matter, the one in Pretoria, where the accused, Mr. Agrizzi, will appear on Friday, I informed him, and he was fully aware when he said, well, what is the position with the Italian passport? And we sent him the letters and sent him the proof that the Italian consulate had been notified, so he was fully aware of what the position was in relation to the Italian passport. He then wanted to know about the South African passport, and we said it's with Colonel Lazarus. And he's had it all the time, even though he was more than willing to return the passport, and there were various negotiations, and we then decided we'll wait until state capture is over, because we still have to go back to state capture. There's various applications and various other evidence that Mr. Agrizzi is requested to give before the Honourable Deputy Chief Justice. So in the interim, the passport has actually expired, but Colonel Lazarus, who is present here, has still got that passport. So that is the position, but I'm not going to hand this up yet till it's been properly signed and commissioned, because I'm not sure the reason it was unfortunately left out. It's referred to in the affidavit, but the only thing that's attached is a copy of the passport. So at this stage, that is our application, and I've also prepared a very, very short affidavit dealing with certain responses in view of what we were told this morning, and I'll deal with that at a later stage once my learned friend has an opportunity to deal with their affidavit, so as not to waste any court time. Thank you, sir. And it was signed in my presence. I was there this morning at Brackendowns Police Station. One of the policemen, not related to or connected to this case, a sergeant from Brackendowns Police Station, kindly attended in the presence of the investigating officer, Captain Nevin, who was present, to affidavit this affidavit. And as I said, immediately I came to court, I gave my learned friend a copy of same, which unfortunately, as I said, is not a signed one, but I showed her the signed one so she could see what I'm handing up is exactly one and the same. Thank you, sir, at this stage.
Thank you, Mr. Agrizzi. Stand up for the moment. Did you understand the content of the affidavit that was read into the record on your behalf?
That's correct.
Do you confirm the correctness of each and every fact contained therein?
It is correct.
Thank you. The court then receives this affidavit in support of the applicant's bail application as Exhibit A to the record.
As the court pleases.
Mr. Agrizzi, you may be seated again.
Thank you.
Mr. Woods, did you want a few minutes just to take care of the commissioning of that second affidavit that you referred to?
I'd be happy if we could just maybe if you could take a little bit of an earlier tea adjournment, and then I can get a commission and then just give a copy to my learned friend so that they're fully prepared, and if they've got anything else, hopefully they'll give it to me at this stage.
Right. Let's take a tea adjournment at this stage.
Thank you,
is
sir.
1 minute to 11. Thank you. We adjourn for tea.
Right, everyone.
All right, the court keeping us in suspense with regards to the bail application of Angelo Agrizzi. Where do we start? I guess the best place to start is at the beginning. The former ANC MP Vincent Smith's case has been postponed till the 3rd of December. The bail has been extended, and you'll remember that the bail was fixed at 30,000 Rand at the last appearance. And then we heard that Mr. Angelo Agrizzi, the former Bosasa COO, he didn't appear at the last hearing due to health concerns. We heard from his counsel saying that he was indisposed at the last hearing because of health or medical condition. He was hospitalized and he is now, quote unquote, permanently on oxygen. So today we heard that he was formally joined to these proceedings. There are 3 accused in this matter. The accused number 1 is Vincent Smith, and the other is a company called Euroblitz. And then we heard that the bail application for Mr. Agrizzi, and it was opposed by the state, which took Agrizzi's counsel aback. They said that they were taken aback by this decision. We heard that Angelo Agrizzi intends to plead not guilty. Something very interesting that was discussed as well when his counsel, Angelo Agrizzi's counsel, was discussing the alleged dealings between Mr. Smith and Gavin Watson, and he was saying that it was Gavin Watson that had the dealings with Mrs. Smith, not Agrizzi. And prior to that, he says, and I quote, everything that relates to the late Mr. Gavin Watson, if he is the late Mr. Gavin Watson, we don't know about that at this stage. We have that clip. Let's just re-cue it and play it for you. Take a listen.
My understanding from and from all the evidence that this stage has, including what Mr. Smith said,
Anything related to the late Mr. Gavin Watson, if he is the late Mr. Gavin Watson, we don't know about that at this stage, but if it's Mr. Gavin Watson, he did all the different dealings with Mr. Smith, not Mr. Agrizzi. So it's a case of, well, don't shoot me, I'm the messenger. It's one of those. So I discussed it with my learned friend as well. We were joking.
So you heard it towards the end there, saying that if he is the late Mr. Gavin Watson, so questioning that, make of that what you will. We'll hear much more with regards to the decision to grant bail to Angelo Agrizzi. Mr. Smith, Vincent Smith, case postponed to the 3rd of December. That's breaking news on the Agenda's Watch. Keep it locked on to SABC News. We'll have much more with regards to the decision, with regards to the bail application of Mr. Angelo Agrizzi. Monitoring a number of stories.
It's in my account, we have one like a mistake.
Yami, yazi umntanga ngaze afe la. Yamazi nani ngimkhathele wami. Jonga, mina ngisebenza naye.
Is it right? Because that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Is it fine?
But young like I not draft.
I'm saying it.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think Mr. Agrizzi, Your Worship, is still busy with the response. May I request the court, if you may send that our method, then my colleague is going to do the response. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. The State calls the matter of SCCC 355 of 2013, Kevin Jensen and Duncan Campbell. Thank you, Your Worship. Matter is on roll today for further evidence. Unfortunately, due to the pending bail application, the matter be rolled over until the 16th of October, that being this Friday, for continuation.
Why can you not assume that you don't? I know that you did seize for the bail application, but is there a reason why we can't do it today?
Do it today. Your Worship, the thing is,
You have your witness here that you were waiting for.
no. I will address the court on that, but the state intends to close its case, Your Worship.
There was something that came up which I mentioned to Mr. Wolford this morning, the law planner, which may have a bit of an impact on my availability on Friday beyond about 11:15. I'm here until about 11:15. So I don't know what your course of action is. I don't know what you're going to do, but can we deal with it until say 11?
Yes.
Is that possible, or are you going to keep me busy longer than that?
Your Worship, with respect, I confirm the ex parte communications of my learned friend on behalf of the state. The state has indicated that there are no other witnesses, and the state intends closing its case. It is my intention to approach the Honourable Court with an application in terms of Section 174 of the Criminal Procedure Act. I don't foresee that I am going to be much longer than, say, 10, 15, 20 minutes in argument. So that is what we are proposing to do on the next occasion. In relation to your Worship's availability today, it would, with respect, appear that the court is delivered with a rather extensive bail application that all indications are going to take most of today. And in those circumstances, my learned friend and I have thought it proper to approach the Honourable Court and ask that the matter stand down until Friday. We will be available 9 o'clock to proceed if the court is available, Your Worship.
Can we start promptly at 9 o'clock on Friday?
Definitely.
Absolutely, Your Worship.
Not a minute later.
As the court pleases.
All right, it seems that the audio is not too good, so I can't.
Jensen, Mr. Campbell, it is, I think, largely due to the matter that I'm currently seized with, which the parties anticipate may take a bit of the court's time today, that we will not be able to attend to this matter today. I would have preferred if we could have dealt with it today, but by agreement, the court postpones the matter then until the 16th, which is this Friday, which is the additional date that we have reserved for continuation. Please be on time. I expect that we start no later than 9 o'clock. If possible, even before that.
Thank you.
There are no other parties required that we need to wait for. It's only yourselves, your attorney, prosecutor, myself, and my court staff are usually here early in the morning. Bail is extended, same conditions as before. Thank you.
Thank you. My colleague and I beg you. Thank you. Thank you.
No, sir. I'm still busy, Your Worship. Sorry. Yes. State calls a matter of SCCC 274 of 2016, Robert Moreau. Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Kubai appears to be accused. State requests that the matter be adjourned to the 23rd of October for purposes of reports and sentence. The reports are ready, Your Worship.
The court pleases, Your Worship. I confirm the same arrangement, Your Worship, 23rd October, Your Worship.
3rd of October, arranged between the parties for pre-sentence evidence. Court extends your bail, same conditions as before, back to this court.
As called, please.
My role, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Kamara.
State calls the matter of SCCC 272 of 2013, George Mpokela. George Mpokela. Thank you, Worship. I'm standing in for my colleague, Advocate Chabalala. State requests that the matter be postponed to the 3rd of November 2020, back to this court for purposes of the attorney.
Has this date been arranged with Mr. Severe?
I don't know, Your Worship. I was just asked to stand in for Mr. Chabalala. Perhaps the accused has some answer.
Kayla, can you tell me, has this been arranged with your attorney? I cannot hear you. Was this date arranged with your attorney, Mr. Krubier?
No, it was, I last spoke to him last Tuesday, informing him of today's date, but he didn't come back to me. I don't know. I thought he was going to be here today.
But you need to attempt to make contact with him again and provide him with this date on the 3rd of November. Because if you want to assist with him representing you, you need to have him here so that we can advance with this matter. Understand? When you spoke to him last Tuesday, as you said, you could actually speak to him.